Well, good afternoon or good evening. Welcome, everybody, to At Lafayette Live here on Monday, June 9th, 2025. Thanks for joining us on this fine June Monday. I know it has been a couple of weeks since we've been on the air. We've been away out on vacation, visiting friends and family, dealing with end of school year stuff, recharging the batteries. So I think it's been about 3 weeks since we were last together. So thank you all for joining us tonight and watching everything on the channel as you've been doing over the last few weeks while we have been away. How you guys doing here in June? Don't forget, as you come in, down in the chat, drop where you're watching from. Are you here in the Lafayette area? In Lafayette or West Lafayette, Tippecanoe County, Indianapolis? Are you from California? We have some regular viewers from California and Texas and Florida. Normally in the winter we talk about how much better the weather is down there, but indeed it might be that the weather is better here at the moment. Summer hasn't quite set in. It's more like the end of spring for us at the moment, really. It's absolutely beautiful. But thanks for joining us. There's a whole lot going on, a whole lot that we need to talk about since the last time that we were together. You know, sometimes it's a little, what are we going to talk about? Okay, let's go in depth on a topic. Let's talk about some real in-depth numbers on housing. Let's talk about some really, really unique home tours and go into depth on something like that, because there's not been a lot going on in the community. But that is not the case today. And the couple of weeks we have been away, there is a whole lot that has gone on and continues to go on. We have a whole lot to talk about, so I'm looking forward to that. Trying to look, yeah, May 19th, so the 26th and 30th. Yeah, so it's been 3 weeks since we were last together. So we really do appreciate you joining us today. So let's get started. And if you're not, yeah. So some controversial things, but they're definitely pretty big issues for us here in the community. And I won't say that I shy away from controversy. I shy away a little bit from politics here on the show. This is not a political show by any means. If you've not tuned in before, I'm Geoff with the Russell Company, powered by At Properties, and I'm a realtor here in the Greater Lafayette area. And that's really what this is all about at the end of the day, is helping people find home here in the area. And part of doing that is talking about what a great place that this is to live, and politics certainly factor into that. But in the old rule of all politics is local, our local politicians do a pretty good job of getting along across the political spectrum. I mean, nobody's perfect by any means, but certainly better than, the national headlines would usually have us believe how our systems function. And I know there's a lot of dysfunction out there on whatever side of the spectrum you might happen to fall on. But here in the Greater Lafayette area, it works pretty well. But Purdue University exists in our community, and at the end of the day, Purdue University is an entity of the state. It is an institution that is chartered by the state. It is Indiana's land-grant college, and the General Assembly and the governor have a great deal to say about how Purdue is operated. And for the most part, they leave it to the chairman and the board of trustees and the president and their staff to run things. But there are a couple things we got to talk about that have happened in recent history in the last few days. First off, here's the headline. What happens when a university changes its relationship with its student-run newspaper after decades of tradition? Purdue has recently made headlines for stepping back from its long-standing partnership with the Exponent. So Purdue University has announced that it will no longer provide support services to the Exponent, which is an independent student newspaper here in West Lafayette at Purdue University. And those free services are that Purdue staff distributed those papers across campus as a free service, and they are no longer going to do that. They actually had a written legal agreement that expired back in 2014 that, while they didn't have a current agreement, the university continued to honor it. But just out of the middle of seeming nowhere, the university decided to go ahead and decide that they're not going to do that anymore. The Exponent will also no longer receive parking permits or special access to university facilities. In response to all of this, the university has explained that the university's explanation is the Exponent is a private business, not an official Purdue student organization, and that any private business wanting to use university facilities must have a contract. Now, the last contract between Purdue and the Exponent expired back in 2014, and Purdue says it's not interested in entering into a new one, and it cited its policies on institutional neutrality and fairness. So here are the things that are changing. Here's where the rubber meets the road, as it were. Purdue is no longer going to help distribute the Exponent on campus. Now, the Exponent can still use public racks on a first-come, space-available basis, but university staff is not going to be involved. The Exponent is no longer going to receive parking permits or special access to campus buildings for newspaper delivery. It's going to be during open hours only. I know that's a point of contention for the Exponent and the fact that newspapers are traditionally delivered early. But perhaps, I was going to say most importantly, but Purdue has also asked the Exponent to remove Purdue from its website URL to avoid confusion, since the paper is independent and not officially affiliated with the university. It's my understanding that it is the PurdueExponent.org, but they don't use the word Purdue in their banner on their actual paper. So now, the Exponent has a copyright on Purdue Exponent that expires in 2029, I believe, about 4 years from now. So there's some question about that. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be that Purdue owns the trademark, the copyright on the name Purdue and Purdue University. So the Exponent's leadership and their supporters have said that the changes came without warning and that they could make it harder for the paper to reach students. And they make the argument that student newspapers do play an important role in campus life and free expression. I clearly grew up in the age of newspapers. There was no internet when I was a kid. And I'm not debating the importance of a newspaper. Absolutely, it's important. But I wonder what their readership truly is for the paper edition. I wonder what their stats look like for that. And I wonder how they're measured. You know, how do you reach a campus full of kids? Purdue has said the decision is about treating all media organizations equally and maintaining institutional neutrality, and it's not about restricting student journalism. This is a student-run paper, but it is not a department or school of the university. So, what do you think about Purdue's new approach with the Exponent? Should universities provide extra support to student newspapers, or is it fair to treat them like any other independent media? Share your thoughts in the chat or in the comments below. And if you found this story interesting, give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe so you make sure that you get all of the latest Purdue news and share it with friends. Moving away from campus, we're going to talk about solar energy, solar development. Imagine 1,000 acres of Indiana farmland transformed into a sea of solar panels. Is this the clean energy future that Tippecanoe County needs, or is it a threat to a rural way of life? Well, we're going to talk today about the Rainbow Trout Solar Project controversy and a new countywide solar moratorium and what it all means for us. So, the Rainbow Trout Solar Project is a proposed 1,000-acre solar farm out on the western side of Tippecanoe County, backed by a company called Invenergy. They've promised that they're going to bring renewable energy, we'll get some local tax revenue, and of course jobs. But like a lot of development things, not everyone's on board. At the Area Plan Commission meeting, dozens of neighbors, a lot of them wearing red, voiced very strong opposition. They were concerned, and the points that they were arguing were that the application was incomplete and insufficient, and that that Invenergy had failed to specify exactly where the electricity would go and how the land would be restored after the project's lifespan, and whether it met all zoning requirements. Now, just days before this heated APC meeting, the Board of Commissioners took a drastic step. they passed a 1-year moratorium on new major solar projects to hit pause, review current rules, and make sure the county isn't overwhelmed by large-scale solar before we're ready. One of the commissioners, Tom Murtaugh, explained that the moratorium was about taking a step back and evaluate how solar fits into the county's long-term vision, and talked about concerns about land use, property values, and the need for clear decommissioning plans when solar farms reach the end of their life. And that is one of the requirements of our existing zoning rules and laws. But the catch for this one in particular is the moratorium will not and does not apply retroactively. So the Rainbow Trout project, because their application was already in progress, is moving forward, at least for now. So Area Plan Commission, despite the outcry, voted 5-1 to advance the Rainbow Trout project to a full zoning hearing scheduled for June 25th. And you can be assured that that's going to be a big flashpoint with neighbors and residents preparing to make their case against this development. But, at the end of the day, this development is going on privately owned land that somebody owns, whether that person lives in the community here, is a farmer here, or is an out-of-state resident. They own the land, and so a lot of the contention is from the neighbors, and what is it going to be like to possibly be surrounded by solar panels. The opponents say that they're ready to take the fight to court, and that they will do all they can to try to stop it. A lot of supporters, though, also are arguing that solar is a vital step towards our clean energy and economic growth future. So it's not just about this project. Of course, it's a precedent for how Tippecanoe County is going to deal with solar and renewable energy going forward. Unfortunately, I think we have a moratorium on large wind development here in the county. As somebody who would like to rent my land to a turbine, I'm disappointed at that. But what do you think? Should Tippecanoe County hit pause on big solar projects, or should we embrace renewable energy as the plan going forward? Are your voices being heard? Are our voices being heard? Or, is this us being drowned out by big business? Let me know your thoughts in the chat or in the comments. This is our community, and this is a place for us to have a voice, and I would encourage you to go to the commissioners meeting and the Area Plan Commission meeting. And if you want to stay up to date on everything going on here in the Greater Lafayette area, on this story and other local issues, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can keep bringing you the latest updates and insights on the stories that shape our community here. Next up, we got to keep moving along. I told you there was a lot to talk about here in the Greater Lafayette area. Franciscan Health has announced that a new emergency department is coming to West Lafayette. So there are two major hospitals here in the Greater Lafayette area, and both of them are on the east side of Lafayette, basically about as far away from West Lafayette as you can get. Now, emergency services still has their benchmarks that they have to be able to hit, and I've not heard of anybody, having terrible emergency times because of the distance, but it is certainly something to be aware of. But Franciscan has some land over by the New Cason Family Park that they've been hanging on to for a number of years, and they've started to build, I believe it's an ortho location, and now they've announced that they're going to have a standalone emergency department, so you won't have to go all the way across Lafayette to get to the emergency room. It's going to be a $25 million development, and 24,000 square feet on the corner of 231 and Cumberland Avenue. They've had this land for a very, very long time. They are going to have 8 emergency exam rooms, 1 equipped to handle trauma cases. Now, over on the east side, it's a little bit larger. Franciscan East has 28 rooms, 2 fully equipped for trauma situations. And of course, there's the hospital that has 225 beds. They're expecting that they'll get about 25 patients a day on average in the first year, compared to about 5 times as many over on the east side at 125. So it's definitely a pressure relief valve for those situations that are a little bit more than urgent care, but less, well, I'm not sure less than what. I mean, I think going to the emergency room is always, these days purported as, only go there in true emergency, like you've cut your leg off and your blood is spewing out. But I think they're hoping to break ground later this year because they're going to base this design on an existing project that they're already doing up in the Valparaiso area, I believe. So this is probably going to happen sooner rather than later. So share your thoughts in the chat or the comments. Do you think that this new YAR will impact West Lafayette? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'd love to have you hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss a minute of all the videos here on At Lafayette Live. Moving on. Got to keep going. There's so much to talk about here in the last 3 weeks that we have been away. Let's see. We've done 1, 2, 3 so far. We still got a ways to go, so I'm going to keep moving. The Allen Media Group announced that WLFI TV 18, the CBS affiliate here in West Lafayette, in the Greater Lafayette area, is for sale. This probably comes along with cheers and celebration from a lot of local residents. There is, you have to be living in a cave to not know of the controversy that's been going on around that the Allen Media Group was working to centralize weather operations and their Weather Channel facilities down in Atlanta and removing local meteorologists from the equation. Chad Evans stepped away from WLFI and is now doing a great job. And if you're not subscribed to Chad Evans on Substack, you should. If you want local weather, it's the absolute best. You can search Chad Evans Weather on Facebook, and that'll lead you to his subscription site on Substack. But the news operation, is now shrunk. It's kind of a shadow of what it once was, which is not to say that the local employees don't do their best and don't care. Of course they do. It's the larger corporation who is now, we're getting stories about Terre Haute and Fort Wayne and everything. So apparently he's putting up a large portion, if not all, of his stations. I'm not sure of the exact count that he might be selling, but he owns 28 broadcast TV stations in 21 markets, and they're affiliated with all the majors: ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. There is some talk in the industry about the Allen Media Group having an uncontrollable debt load, about missing payments to networks and things like that. So, I obviously don't have access to their books. I think that some might cheer this as good news. Yay, it's going to get better. But quite frankly, with what the broadcast media landscape looks like in the year 2025, I'm not sure it's going to get better. I think one outcome is that there's not a buyer and the station folds. I'm not putting a likelihood behind that. I'm not saying, that's going to happen or that's not. It might be a very, very small percentage chance of that happening, but it is a possible outcome. It could be that it will be that it gets sold to another conglomerate, most likely, I think, that will be treating things in much the same way as has been happening lately. It's possible that a smaller operator buys the station, but I think they're going to be hamstrung by costs and the amount of money that it takes just to run a transmitter and to pay license fees and things like that. So I am not certain that it's going to get better. I think this is just another tolling of the bell of the future that is to come for local broadcast news nationwide and not just here in the Greater Lafayette area. So what do you think about that? Are you excited about WLFI being sold, going to new owners? Leave a comment below or drop a message in the chat. Let's see what we think about that, and hit the like and subscribe button so we don't miss a minute of the content here on At Lafayette Live. I'm going to try to give this one with as little commentary and little feeling as possible. This one wades very, very deeply into politics, like I said earlier. Something that I do try to stay away from is deep efforts, deep conversations about politics. I'm interested in local development, local news, how great we work together as a community, both as community members and organizations in our community and people in our community, and yes, our local politicians who do a great job working together across the political spectrum. But this one touches very much on nationwide politics, but Purdue University has put an end or dismantling its DEI offices, programs, and other associated things because of the threats that are coming from both the state government and federal government levels. So, Provost Wolf announced that the university's Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, which previously fell under the Provost's office, will close, as will related activities in colleges and departments. He said that staff members in those offices with those initiatives will have a chance to interview for job vacancies in other parts of the university. Leading programs in colleges, including the Minority Engineering Program and the Dr. Cornell A. Bell Business Opportunity Program, which are part of the university's diversity efforts for more than 50 years, so dating back to the early 70s, are going to be folded into the Boilermaker Opportunity Program in the Office of the Vice Provost for Enrollment Management. And the university's cultural centers are going to continue to serve as open resources for the entire Purdue community, providing support for all students. And they're going to shift to the university's Vice Provost for Student Life, Beth McCuskey. When the memo went out, references to diversity have been removed from Purdue's website, including the provost role as the chief diversity officer at Purdue. So no word on exactly how many staff this is in total, but it's definitely greater than zero. And this is from the trustees. This is not somebody out freelancing saying we should do this. So there's a lot of controversy around this. There are a lot of Purdue people and people out in the community that say that this is wrong and that the university should not be doing this before they are ordered to do this. I'm going to leave it at that. That was the news on that. So that is going on at Purdue University, and now I have told you about it. I'm going to keep moving on. You guys doing all right on this Monday afternoon as I move my notes around my screen here? If you've ever driven from the north, you've passed exit 178, which is the Battleground exit. Takes you down River Road. You can take River Road or Soldiers Home Road to Purdue University. And there was a Holiday Inn that was just rotting away there. Used to be a great hotel, but that was years and years and years ago. It took forever to finally get it torn down. Well, a developer, MGM Plaza LLC, who are based in Northfield, Illinois, and to my understanding do not have any connection to the MGM gaming company of Las Vegas and other casinos, despite what some people have claimed on Facebook and other social media, that they have gone before area plan for some waivers for zoning for some waivers on new development that is going to replace that hotel that was torn down. What they have announced that they're eventually going to do, and this was before the area board of zoning appeals, they want to build 3 hotel buildings in the project that are going to be up to 95 feet tall. The current zoning allows for 35-foot maximum, If they go with the full 95 feet, these would be the tallest hotels in all of Tippecanoe County, other than the Holiday Inn City Center in downtown Lafayette. That's huge. They're also requested to reduce the number of required parking spaces from 587 down to 397. The Battleground Redevelopment Commission had some questions about that, saying that 397 spaces would not be enough for 320 combined rooms, as well as a proposed banquet facility, and the staff needed to run this, as well as some potential retail that will be on site. And Mark Perry, who is the project manager for MGM Plaza, told him that the project is going to be built in phases, and that the need for parking can be readdressed as the project continues along and grows. But right now, that passed on a 5-2 vote. They have not said when this project is going to start. I think it is good that they have made the progress to get before area zoning and get this project moving. But I'm kind of in the I'll believe it when I see it kind of mode on this one, because they originally bought the property and they thought they were going to use the shell of the existing structure. And then they didn't. And then they let it rot even further. And then the town had to come along and the county had to come along to get that thing demolished. And now they're going to come along and build this giant new development. I hope it happens. I think. Development is from the perspective of development. I'm pro development. If you hadn't picked up on that, I think it's good. I think it's inevitable to some extent. But we'll see. What do you think about that? 3 hotels, 1 site, Battleground, Indiana. Let me know in the comment or the chat below what you think about that. And hit the like and subscribe button so you can find out more about all the great development news going on here in the Greater Lafayette area. Doing all right? All right. Going to move on to the next thing. Have you ever wished for a little more comfort while shopping at the Lafayette Farmers Market? Maybe some shade from the summer sun or shelter from a sudden rain? Well, big changes could be on the horizon for one of Lafayette's most beloved Saturday traditions. The city of Lafayette has announced that they are officially exploring the idea of putting a roof over the farmers market on North 5th Street. That's right, a covered, flexible space that could transform your weekend market experience. The Lafayette Redevelopment Commission has taken a major step, and they've hired the design firm MKSK to study how this stretch of downtown can be upgraded. Their mission is to figure out how a covered structure and other improvements could make the market even better for vendors and visitors alike. Now, they're going to look at everything from curb and curbless street layouts to new amenities, parking, and I think most excitingly, the possibility of an overhead structure. I can imagine a space that not only protects me and you from the elements, but could also be used for festivals and community events all year round. And boy, do I know that there are a lot of festivals and community events that are happening in downtown this now. And I think that's great. It's such a vibrant community resource that we have down there. The city has invested $39,000 in this initial study, and there are going to be opportunities to provide your feedback as well. But in addition to feedback to the city, I want to hear from you. Would a roof over the Lafayette Farmers Market make your Saturday mornings even better? I want to know what features or improvements would you love to see downtown, and let's get a real conversation going. So share your ideas and opinions in the chat and the comments below. And if you are passionate about supporting local markets and shaping the future of our community here in the Greater Lafayette area, hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an update. Plus, share this video with your friends and neighbors. Let's make sure everyone's voice is heard as Lafayette plans this next big move. All right. Chickens! That's something that my kids like to say a lot. The city council in Lafayette has been working on bringing a proposal to the table that would allow chickens inside the city limits of Lafayette. They are currently not allowed by city ordinance. So there was a community survey that went out. The deadline for the responses was last Friday. So we're going to see what those responses are, and then hopefully in about July we'll get some movement at the Lafayette City Council about, do you want, will backyard chickens be allowed in Lafayette? That's a big deal. There are so many communities that allow it. It's kind of it's an understandable thing. I was gonna say it's kind of an odd thing that it is not allowed. There's a series of events that led to that, but I know that people were concerned about noise and hygiene and health and all that sort of thing. But I think that the city council is doing a good job of taking all those concerns into account. And my little joke about it is, with the price of eggs, let's get some chickens. But I tell you what, I think that farming anything, whatever it might be, is great as a hobby. But to make it affordable, you have to get to a scale beyond what is affordable for backyard. Even out in the county, even out in the country, it's tough to get to scale where it's cheaper than going to the store, which is not an endorsement or of going to the store or a negative against raising your own food or chickens. I think you should. I think you just should acknowledge reality of costs and what that sort of thing takes. But more to come on that in July. We were hoping that we were thinking originally that we might hear something around now, but it's going to get pushed to July. But what's not getting pushed until July is you hitting the subscribe button right now. So do it. And if you are watching this and you missed us earlier, I am Geoff Gooch with the Russell Company powered by At Properties. I am a realtor here in the Greater Lafayette area. And while I love bringing you all of this news and talking to you about all the great things happening in our community, I do it because I live, work, and I love this community. And I love helping people find home here in this community. So if you're interested in knowing what your home might be worth, if you're curious about maybe making that next move, maybe you need a little more space, maybe you need to downsize, maybe you want a snowbird and go to Florida for the winter. Whatever the case might be, I'd love to work with you on all of your real estate needs here. So please reach out to me. You can, if you're watching on TV, you can scan this QR code right here and it will load into load my contact information into your phone. But you can also go to the LafayetteReal.com/YouTube and fill out the form and let me know how we can work together to serve your real estate needs here. And with that, we're going to wrap up with one last story, and that will get us caught up, I think, for the major news that I really wanted to talk about that has been happening in the time that I've been away on vacation. Pull it up. Wrong one. Here it is. So the last couple of months, I think that everybody kind of got sick of hearing the words SK Hynix. And we're not done talking about SK Hynix. We're very early in the game. We're not even anywhere close to finishing with that. But this is tangential to that. This is related to that. West Lafayette is looking to bring an early childhood education center to a site that would be just to the south side of the big controversial SK Hynix development. They're looking at putting it on land next door to West Lafayette Fire Station number 3, which is directly across from the John Dennis Wellness Center, and it could be home to a center that would start with about 100 preschoolers and perhaps could eventually expand to handle about 300, according to the West Lafayette Redevelopment Commission. And this is, of course, on Calbera Road. Now, it has been a desperate need in our community. In West Lafayette and Lafayette, Greater Lafayette, Tippecanoe County, there's just not enough child care available around here. So that's no mystery there, no secret there. And the West Lafayette Redevelopment Commission has a part of their budget that is dedicated to $250,000 for design work on this center. So I know that there's a lot of controversy that comes along with like being close to this industrial site, and we're not done with that conversation by any means. But the fact that it is there by the John Dennis Rec Center, that it is central to so many people in the community, it's a site that makes sense. It's a site that's going to make sense for people that are working at the new Hynix facility. At this point, they've not given a timeline for the design or construction, but it's going to come, and I think that it's going to come to that location. I think is what is going to happen, and hopefully more will happen in addition to that. But that is At Lafayette Live for Monday, June 9th, 2025. Thank you so much for spending an evening with us here in Indiana or Florida, Texas, all the places that you guys are watching from. I do really, really appreciate you joining us here every week. I know we weren't here the last 2 weeks, but we'll have a fairly regular schedule through the next few weeks. We'll probably miss some weeks around July 4th, and we've got some stuff going on, some family stuff going on later in July. But make sure one more time that you hit the like and subscribe button, because in addition to At Lafayette Live, over on the Lafayette Real YouTube channel, which is what hosts At Lafayette Live, we post new content all of the time. Home tours, fun things to do here in the area, topics that we talk about here more in depth on At Lafayette Live. All sorts of things go up each and every day. And if you want to stay connected to the community, if you want to stay connected to what's going on, if you want to stay connected to really fun home tours in the area, it would mean a lot to us if you hit the subscribe button. And with that, we will see you again next week for At Lafayette Live. Have a great week, everybody.